In previous videos, we've already driven the Model Y, the Model 3 and the Model S. So the only one left is this Model X. My name is Peter and today we're going to have a look at this Model X and see what this is all about. Because obviously this is Tesla's flagship, big SUV, everything we got car with the fancy gull-wing doors. And it's quite a looker. I really like the sleek design of this car. It's been basically unchanged ever since its introduction with a few updates here and there, but the basic shape and structure is still the same. I think it still looks very fresh today with these cool signature daytime running lights with the adaptive LED beams inside and the whole sleek, smooth look, especially with that big window obviously in the inside, as we'll see later. It's a very elegant car, I think, despite its size. Now this is a big car with a lot of features, and the features start here in the front with a frunk. And not just any frunk, this is huge. This is more than 180 liters of space. And I'll show you by getting in that this is a large capacity bin. This is almost as big as some cars' entire rear boot. And it's just so usable. It's so nice that you can chuck luggage in here, charging cables in here, anything you want really. It's so usable and it's so practical that you have this additional space for storage. Really nice. And it's something that you might actually need because this is the 7-seat version. So when you put the rear seats up, as we'll see later, then of course you lose a lot of space in the rear in terms of storage. And then you have this. Walking around the car, we got the 20-inch wheel and rim combination here with the turbine wheels. Looks really nice. And I think overall this whole side profile is excellent. Metallic blue color is an optional extra, by the way, 1,600 euros extra here in the Netherlands. But it does look quite striking. Obviously, the big feature are the gull-wing doors. There's no way around it. This is the defining feature of this car. You can have a lot of opinions about this, that it's too complicated, it's too heavy, it'll break, it's not going to work, and so on. And some of that might be true, but there's no way around it that this is amazing. This space to work with, anybody that ever tried to put a kid in a car knows that this is the way you really want it to be. It's so practical, there's so much you can do here without bumping your head or without anything, and even when it's raining without getting wet. So it is a defining feature and might be a bit of an unnecessary feature, but it is a fantastic feature to have, to be honest. Back here we will have a look at the boot as well, of course, because in the end this is a 5-meter long car, 2 meters wide, so you expect a lot of space, and a lot of space you get. The seats are down at the moment, and I'll sit in it to give you an idea. I'm not even like all the way back yet. There's still like this much to go before I hit the seats. I'm just hitting the roof here. But there's so much space back here that you're going to fit anything in here. Family, holiday, ski holiday, no issues whatsoever. And thanks to the form factor of the car, we saw the same with the Model Y. Because it's so high, you have a lot of height to work with. And you can put boxes in here and you don't have that sloping line here taking a lot of the space away. So this is great, and there's a little bit of storage here on the sides as well for some additional things you might have laying around. But since this is an electric car, you're not going to have any oil or anything going on. And the tow eye is actually in the front. So with the third row up, you can see obviously that it eats into your boot space by quite a lot. There's no way around that. That space has to come from somewhere, and it's an issue that every 7-seater car has. But it's still very usable, and you have this whole bin underneath. So there's still quite a lot of room to work with, and anything that doesn't fit here you can put in the front because you got the 180 plus liters there as well. So even when you have a kid's birthday party or anything going on and you're using the seats, there's still more than plenty of space for everybody's swim stuff or tennis rackets or whatever, and it's still very, very usable. And then if I put this middle row down, you can see the amount of space I have here. With my 1,83 meters and 90 kilos, I can sleep here with at least twice myself. No issues whatsoever. So you can fit your washing machine, your Christmas tree, your uncle, a mountain bike and 2 surfboards here. No issues whatsoever. It's really, really nice what you can do with this form factor. You can see that this is not particularly high, but I would say it's more than a meter. So there's more than enough space to slide things in here. And you still have, you're not even touching the front seat. So you still have more than enough seating comfort over there. Currently we are at a supercharger, so that's a good time to tell you about the interior of this Tesla Model X. There's 2 themes going on here. First of all is the minimalistic Tesla theme. So there's no buttons here whatsoever except for the window controls and the seat controls. That's all you're going to get. On the one hand, it's super nice and clean. On the other hand, it's cost saving, as we've discussed in previous videos. It does look nice though, especially in this premium black with ebony wood interior. In the Tesla Model Y video, we had the light wood interior accent, and that didn't look good. It looked a bit like a cheap floor at home. This dark wood looks much more classy and much more chic, if you want to call it that way. So that's definitely the option to go for. It is very black in here, and that's actually the next big thing standing out with this Model X, of course, is that this huge window above us gives you a lot of extra light in the cabin. There's no sort of panoramic roof, traditionally speaking, but this helicopter bubble really lights up the interior. And because it is all black with black and even more black, especially in the back it gets really black, you do need all that light, so it is quite nice. To deal with all that light, you know, you can imagine on a sunny day, you'll be driving with sunglasses in this car most of the time, but on a sunny day you might want to, you know, blind the light a little bit. There is shading in the window about till here, so that helps a lot already. And Tesla has provided us with these window visors, if you want to call it that way. It's magnetized, so there's a little magnet here that attaches here, and also here on the center console where the rearview mirror is attached as well. And then that is your sunblind. Not very big, but you can unfold it even further, and then you have a bit more shading, and if you open the next flap you have your vanity mirror as well. It doesn't look very good. It's not a very elegant solution. I think this is the best they could do, given the fact that they want to give this window like the full clean look. But moi, I suppose it does work, sort of, kind of, but it's not the nicest solution. The rest of the cabin though is super minimalistic, like I said. So window controls here, and even the button for the door is a capacitive button. The same capacitive buttons are here on the steering wheel, so there's no stalks or anything behind the wheel. It is all right here. On the one hand, I don't like that because it's nicer to have physical controls. On the other hand, I have to admit that it is quite easy to get used to. Even after a lifetime of having my indicators with my left hand behind the steering wheel, it takes all but 10 minutes to get used to the buttons here. The only downside is that when your steering wheel is upside down, like on a roundabout, your indicators are upside down too. So there's a little stripe here so you can find them, but it's too much thinking to realize, is it then the left one or the right one that I'm pressing? So that is a bit annoying, but over time you get used to it. Tesla has also solved the lack of stalks and the minimalistic button design with the fact that the buttons are multifunctional. So the wiper button, for example, if you press it once, you get a little menu that you can either scroll through or press the button more times to get to different wiper settings. So that is the workaround that they have with no stalks and no real buttons. And other than that, you have to do everything in the central screen. Before we get to that screen though, there is a driver's display through the steering wheel, so that is excellent. Very nice, works really well. I really like it to have glanceable information in a straight line down from my field of view. I don't like it in the Model Y and the Model 3 that you have to go through the screen. It's not that it's further away or anything, but it's like I have to do too much of a change in direction with the way I'm looking to see my speed or to see my navigation. It's just nicer that it's in a straight line down. I prefer that, to be honest. That said, the big screen is where you will do all the interaction with the car. And in all honesty, it is amazing. It is so fast, it is so flexible, it is everything you want from a screen. This one is enormous, of course. This is really like desktop size screen. And you do, like I said, everything from your setup to your pedals, to your suspension, to your charging, everything can be done here. And it is just fantastic. Note, by the way, that the color of the car on the driver's display and here is also correct. So small touches, once again, I've said it in previous videos too. It's an expensive product, this car, and it's so disappointing if they can't even get the color of the car correctly in the menu. But Tesla does that very well, so good job. Underneath, wireless charging pads. My phone is in here, as you can see, and your emergency button. And here, some more ebony dark wood in the center console. I can open this up in 2 stages. So like this, I can have my cup holders. I can also get those out of the way, and I can open this up even further. Then I have one deep bin with my 12 volt and my USB charging options in there. And then there's another layer, another pocket here for my sunglasses in this case, that you can also use. and you can close it again in 2 stages. Then there's a big central armrest that can also open up, revealing another deep bin with a bottle in this case, and that is all your storage options together with the door pockets that are actually lined as well. There is a glove box that you can open through the screen, and that is all your storage that you have here in the front. The seats are comfortable too. I fit. That's good news, but they are a bit on the hard side, and the headrest is a bit like putting your head on a football, for example. It's a bit round and it's easy to sort of slip off. I prefer a slightly wider headrest. That is a bit more comfortable. But all round, yeah, you have the feeling that you're in a big car. It is a big car, obviously, but you have good overview of the vehicle, and you can get comfortable here quite easily. There's a normal mirror here to look rearwards, obviously. When you have passengers in the back, especially in the last row, you won't see anything here, but there is a camera button on the screen that will reveal the backup cameras and the side cameras here. And you can do this at any speed and at any time. So it's a great option to still have good rearwards visibility. All round, good cabin. The minimalistic thing has to be your kind of thing. But like I said, you do get used to it quite quickly. And in the end, it is a nice, clean design. So before taking off in this Tesla Model X, I prefer to have my speed warning messages off and also my lane departure warning off. So the speed warning is easy. There's a tiny little red sign, traffic sign on top here that I can press once, and then it will say cross through the loudspeaker. That means that my speed warning is off. It will still read the traffic signs and alert you on the display, especially with the cruise control on, what speed you should be doing, but at least it doesn't give you an audible warning anymore. The lane departure is under the car menu, and then we go to autopilot and scroll down, and then there is a lane departure prevention warning that I can turn off, and that is just one click, and then it's off, and then you won't get a warning every time you get too close to the lines. Driving this Model X around is a very familiar Tesla experience. So it's quiet in here, the ride is firm-ish, but okay. And in this car you can actually adjust the ride because we have adaptive damping. So you can go to car and suspension, and you can actually do change the height of the suspension depending on what you're doing, and you can also go for comfort, sport, or advanced, where you can have a few more settings. So you can toy around a little bit with how you want this car to be set up. I have it in comfort most of the time and automatic because that gives you the most compliance for day-to-day driving. When you go to car and pedals and steering, you can also select your driving mode in terms of acceleration, from chill to sport, where we are in now, to insane, and that of course deploys more power. Now we got a nice bit of straight road in front of us, so let's go to the insane setting. We'll do a little launch for you. Here we go. And it does go quite quick, quite fast. So that is obviously the crazy part of the Tesla drivetrain, that you can get these absolutely nuts acceleration figures under 4 seconds to 100 with a 2.5-ton car. So that is quite a lot. Let's put it back into normal sport mode because we are on the public road on this Saturday. That is what you can get from this Tesla drivetrain, and that sort of defines the whole driving experience as well. On the one hand, you can put everything in chill and in comfort and in compliance, and it's all very relaxing to drive. And then at the push of 3 buttons, you are in full attack mode, and you can literally go as crazy as you want. It's not plaid mode fast, that is still one step above, but with this car you are basically the fastest car on the road at any given time. And that's also part of the driving experience that, you know, requires a bit of discipline in terms of how you deploy it, because it is still a big heavy vehicle that you're hurtling across the horizon at crazy speeds, but it is also, in a way, it's very nice to know that any gap, any overtaking, any maneuver is basically possible with this car, because it's 4-wheel drive and you have all that performance. So, you know, you can basically drive the way you want without too much thinking ahead. In cars with lesser horsepower, you always have to think a little bit like, all right, is the performance of the car sufficient for what I'm about to do? But in cars like this, with this amount of power, it just goes. That does require a bit of discipline, like I always say, in cars like this, especially electric cars, where the speeds get very fast very quickly. This is a 2.5 ton car, and you mostly notice speed when you have to slow it back down. So, you know, there's no lack of stopping power, but when you do have to bring 2.5 ton to a halt, and mind you, that's only the car itself. So, you know, with me, my camera woman, and maybe a bunch of luggage and some people inside, you easily reaching 3 ton. And that is a lot of weight to slow down, especially if you have to do it repeatedly. So here in the back of the Tesla Model X, obviously the defining feature are these doors. You can call them unnecessary or too complicated, but they are pretty cool. Even here at the supercharger, you still see people that are used to Teslas, obviously, take a little picture and come have a look. So that is kind of cool. The back here though is space, space and more space. Mostly here on the bottom part. I'll show you the top here. There is obviously a bubble here on above me for some extra headroom. But here in the middle you got all the mechanics for the doors, so there's not that much headroom space there. With my 1.83 m, I am touching the roof here. So if you're taller, you're not going to sit here in the middle, but on the sides, no issues whatsoever. There's about this much extra headroom left for me. The real space is down here. There is a fully flat floor, obviously, with the Tesla skateboard architecture, and it is just vast. I can lay here, I can put bags here, boxes, anything. So much space, it is really, really nice. And even this central console is floating, so I can put my feet underneath if I'm sitting here in the middle. Excellent. The space for me towards the driver's seat is also very, very comfortable, and it has to be because it is a hard back. Not so nice, but for me, no issues. And if you're taller than me, you still have some room to go before you're touching the seat. You can use the sliders here. I can move the seats forward like this, about this much, to create more space for the people in the third row. Then I am touching the seat, which is uncomfortable because it's hard. But for a longer journey that might not be comfortable. For a short journey, it's probably fine. And obviously, as soon as you start using those third row seats, you're gonna have to move with the furniture a little bit and play Tetris with the people on who's tall and who sits where. It's pretty featureless back here because everything you do and you wanna do is here in the screen. So I have seat heating all around and also seat heating in the rear. And I can do anything from my media controls to watch a movie, to play games, settings, all the things. And that is, of course, exactly what you want. Your kids are going to have a blast here playing the games. You can connect video controllers to it, of course. And it's a pleasant place to be, despite the fact that there's nothing really to do and that everything needs to be done on the screen. It's a pretty elegant solution. It works better than in the front, where you want more things to operate while driving. Down here in the second row and especially in the third row, that's not really necessary. So then the screen is a good solution. A few things missing as well. There's no seat pockets or anything, so you know, that's just not there. There's also no real storage back here, so there's no bins or anything you can put anything in. And there's no central armrest because this is an actual full seat. So, you know, nothing really to store here, but you have so much space that it's easy to put a backpack or a bag or something back here. The driving experience itself, there's no denying that you are en route with a large vehicle. At no point does this feel like it shrinks around you. It is a large vehicle at all times, both on normal roads like we are now, but also on the highway, it still feels large. That specifically comes into play when you are into tighter environments. We saw the same with the Kia EV9, for example, which is a similar sized vehicle. When the maneuvering gets tight, then yeah, there's no denying that it is cumbersome to drive around with a vehicle this size. Luckily, the camera system is excellent, so I have a very good overview around at all times. And because of this bubble helicopter feel in front of us, there's always that feeling of overview as well, both with maneuvering as on the highway or normal streets like here. So that's excellent. That it really makes you feel confident driving this large vehicle around. And obviously at that point you're not going to put it in insane mode or anything. Most of the time you'll probably even be fine driving in chill mode, which just gives you a bit of a longer throttle pedal and not full deployment of the power. But I find for my day-to-day driving, sport mode is usually more than fine. It's nice to be fast when you want to, but still have that compliance in the throttle pedal and not going crazy all the time, or insane rather. The throttle pedal is a bit of a thing that I don't like about Tesla, that as soon as you let go, the car goes in full regen mode and the brake lights come on. I find that quite annoying when I'm behind somebody in a Tesla. You can tell that they haven't fully figured out the feathering of the throttle pedal, so that's something you have to get used to. I prefer to have a rolling option that I can just let go of the gas and the car will roll. But okay, that is not available. All round though, it is an easy car to drive once you get used to that throttle input. So to get into the third row, I gotta press a button here on the shoulder of the seat, and then it can fold forward and I have this space to get into. No issues there, and I have to watch out not to bump my head because I gotta go past this big structural bit. But once I'm there, I am okay-ish. I'm 1.83 meters tall, like I mentioned, and I'm touching the window with my head, but it does, technically speaking, fit. If I move the seat back in place, like so, you know, I'm touching the seats with my knees and, like I said, touching the window with my head, but I am okay here. I wouldn't say I'm gonna drive to a ski holiday like this, but it does fit. So somebody my size is okay for a short drive back here. There's also enough space next to me for another me. I'm not intruding into this chair at all with my enormously broad shoulders, so that's actually pretty okay. Kids back here will be more than fine. The only issue I can see is that this is quite high. I mean, this is already eye height for me. So for a kid that sits even lower, this is blocking quite a bit of view and light, especially when you got people sitting here as well. So that is not ideal for a longer journey. But, you know, I'm comfortable back here. I got ventilation, I got cup holders, I can move my feet under the seats, no issues whatsoever. So all round, it's not bad at all. And I can actually sit here for a little bit of a journey. Besides that, it is pleasant to be here in the front. Everything is easy to operate. I mentioned in the interior tour that you get used to the buttons quite quickly. And then you have to do the rest of the car with the screen. On the one hand, that's great. I already mentioned that it's a good solution to make everything clean and adjustable later. On the other hand, things like my mirror control, I just want to have a physical button for that, because it's just easier when when you're moving your seat around a little bit because somebody behind you needs more space, or when you have a thick jacket on. I want to be able to make those adjustments on the go and not go through 3 menu settings and then work with a scroll wheel. Also, no head-up display in this car, not an issue because I have my driver's display, which is something I'm thankful for in Teslas. It just works nicer. Would have been nice to have a head-up display, because if you set up your driver display with the head-up display properly, you can really make the driving experience more comfortable that way. But this is a great addition to the main screen where you'll have most of your navigation and stuff going on anyway. And it's nice to have this glanceable information in your direct line of sight. So that's good, I quite like that. I overall like the cabin and the interior as well. This ebony wood really makes a difference for me compared to the Model Y that we drove. It looks much nicer. And I quite like in the whole light coming in with this bubble. It gives you a feeling of space, like I said, a feeling of overview, and it really enhances the driving experience that way, so that's great. And then on top you have the pleasant experience of the Tesla supercharger integration. You have the range that you get with the big battery, of course. The Tesla drivetrain in general is very efficient, so that range is also quite pleasant, that you know, like, oh, I can rely on that range and it's not going to collapse when the temperature drops 1 degree or when I go 120 instead of 100. So it's also nice to have that confidence in the vehicle, and it also shows that Tesla has been building cars like this for quite a while now. So yeah, all around it's a pleasant experience, and apart from having to get used to the screen button interaction in this car in particular and with Tesla in general, I think it's a quite pleasant proposition. After a week with this Tesla Model X, is this the ultimate electric SUV? In many ways it is. It offers space, it offers power, it offers performance, it offers the safety of the Tesla supercharger network and a seamless integration with the car itself. There is quite a lot to like. You do have to like Tesla. Obviously, if Tesla is not your cup of tea, then this car won't be either. There's other options like maybe a Kia EV9 that offer a similar proposition in terms of space and size. But I think for all that this car is trying to be, it is a very compelling package. Almost 130,000 euros in this variety, which is expensive, but you know, that is what it is. For that money though, you do get those crazy X gullwing doors. Are they strictly necessary? Maybe not, but they do work in terms of practical access to the rear, and they always look cool. So if you like that kind of stuff, this is certainly going to be for you. That's all I got for this video though. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. A sub to the channel is always appreciated, then you don't miss any future updates. And for now, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!